Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of Agency Life. And today I have got Greg from Concentrate all the way from New Zealand. Tell me what time in the morning it is there.
8:06 a.m. Clodagh.
8:06, and what's the temperature?
Oh, it's probably about 15 or 16 Celsius.
Beautiful. Right in the middle of your summer, right in the middle of our winter up here in Ireland.
Yeah.
Greg, tell us a little bit about the conception of how Concentrate came about, because it's not just you in the business, right?
No, I've got a business partner and we work together at a software exporter here in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And we're New Zealand's largest software exporter at that point, and they'd both been in sales and marketing roles there for a fair amount of time, and saw an opportunity to get out and help New Zealand's growing technology scene with some at that point just marketing strategy type advice.
Yeah.
And then over time, as we sort of did that for several years, helped a lot of companies, but found that they struggled with execution. Because there are a lot of small to medium sized companies here, don't necessarily have dedicated marketing teams. So we started to develop a marketing capability that we could outsource to them, and that led us into a whole lot of digital marketing services, and here we are today, really.
Voila! How many people in the business right now from the start of 2?
9 now.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and still recruiting, really. So it's quite
How many years now? 5? Coming up to 5, or?
We started 14 years ago.
Wow! But with the actual inbound side of things.
Yeah, so that was only about 6 years ago. We started with content marketing, and we had a customer who was selling an HR SaaS product to large companies in Australia and New Zealand, and we heard about this inbound marketing concept. I even read this book called Inbound Marketing. Didn't realize until later that it was the founders of HubSpot, but we thought this theory was a good one. So we just started producing some content and promoting it and using it, and it worked really well. But then doing that sort of manually with, WordPress and MailChimp and Hootsuite, and trying to bash all that together became quite a mission. So we tried to look around for a tool to automate that, and that's where we started on our HubSpot journey.
Yeah.
And that was about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Do you just specialize in that, or do you branch out depending on what the clients are using themselves?
Mostly HubSpot, really. I mean, that's for our agency, you can't. We're not big enough to have lots of multiple skills. So we do work with customers who might have other things like Marketo or Pardot or something like that. So that's fine, but we don't necessarily. We don't pitch ourselves as experts in those platforms. We can help them, give them advice around the strategy and the content and all those kind of things. But in terms of when the technology's in play, it's only HubSpot. Yeah,
right. It seems to suit those type of customers that you work with as well. Because have you really specialized in that area of technology? I remember your talk from the Partner Day last year. There was a kind of a perfect storm for you guys with technology, your background, with talking to software companies. Is that the sort of niche that you've kind of got into?
Yeah. Because there's 1,001 marketing agencies out there. Right. So differentiating yourself is important, and what we saw with technology companies was that the route to growth was focusing on a market, whether it's geographic or industry or horizontal or whatever it was. Having some focus was really important. So we sort of applied that to our own business as well. And because we came from this technology background, we thought, well, that's a good place to start. We understand how to sell technology business to business. We don't understand much about consumer goods marketing or fashion, as you can tell, fashion. So we thought we'd stick to what we know, and that's suited us well and given us the ability to differentiate. We're based in New Zealand's second largest city, but it means most of our customers are not here. but we can attract business in New Zealand's largest city and even Australia because we're specialists.
Yeah.
You know, we offer companies, you know, really in-depth knowledge around marketing and technology business.
Yeah.
So instead of, they don't have, you know, they could go around the corner because there's 100 other agencies, but they'll come to us because we have that specialty.
Yeah, and that's something that you really got into really early and stuck in your groove. Whereas agencies can tend to scattergun and try different things, or chase the next big dragon and go, oh, that's going to be a big one. But really, you followed your hearts as well. Like, you like the technology, you had a background in it, and you're good at it. So stick to what you know.
Yeah, and it's always difficult because there's always, you know, you need to have the cash coming in to pay the bills, and, you know, and projects come along, and there's always a temptation to, you know, to get into other things. And we've done projects out of tech here and there, but, you know, in terms of actually our proactive, focused ability to grow, we've always focused on the technology side. And it just, you know, makes sense. You've only got limited resources to grow your business, so focus it on a connected set of customers.
Yeah. Another thing that I clearly remember our first conversation way back when you purchased the HubSpot and you had come on board. And I lived in New Zealand for a while just after the earthquakes. And I remember, like, just talking to you guys at the time, there was still a lot of turmoil in Christchurch. There was still a lot going on. There's agencies out there who are in different scenarios. You know, you had horrible earthquakes in Christchurch. They suffered massive tremors going on. But agencies are experiencing adversity in lots of different things. There's financial crisis. There's difficulty of getting people. Talk to me about how you overcome the adversity of those, like, that's a physical situation. What do you think the things are that you did that helped you get through those difficult times?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It was it was a crazy time. I think we moved our office 6 times in less than a year, just because, you know, we had to get out of this building because it was written off for the earthquake, and then we had, you know, it was temporary leases here and there, and it's, yeah, when you look back, it's, you sort of just have to cope with those things in a way. But I think it's just carrying on being focused on the customer and what they need. And that sort of, you know, that got us through. Because a lot of the time you can, especially in the digital marketing game, as long as you're connected and you've got your base technology, you can operate from anywhere. So you don't necessarily have to, you know, put that on the customer. You can focus on what they need and you know, work with them.
Back and talk to them and explain what's going on. Do you know, I think that's the thing as well. Sometimes agencies go through difficult times and they hide it. They don't have an honest conversation, and then it all falls apart, you know, whereas you are dealing with humans. So have a human conversation with them.
Yeah, and that's what, I mean, we found, you know, our customers, particularly the ones out of Christchurch in New Zealand, were amazingly, you know, sympathetic to our situation. We were interrupted for a couple of weeks around the main part of the earthquake, but apart from that, we carried on. But people were really flexible about it, and as you say, if you talk to them, you know, it's always and that's always the case. I think, particularly with financial things, people don't talk about that stuff. You know, there's nothing worse that we find than you have a customer who just goes silent and you know, doesn't talk about what's happening in a financial sense. So you know, I think if you're, you know, you can always work those things out with people if you're providing value to each other. You can find a way through. And
they're in business as well, and both from a good side and a bad side. So if you're working with a client and they're out of scope work is creeping up and it becomes tense, the relationship, by sitting down and explaining to them your business and here are the hours, having a business conversation with them as well can release the dialogue and open up things too.
Yeah, and I think I mean people that aren't willing to talk about that and aren't willing to be constructive about it probably aren't worth working with.
Exactly.
And I think they're the vast minority. There's not many people like that, but when you do get them, it's yeah, it's better to just cut your losses because you're never going to make money out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. And your partnership with Owen, like, were you guys friends before? Did you meet through work, or did you just meet through? Were you friends before? I know you worked together in the same company, but how did that sort of partnership come together when you were actually thinking of the agency?
Yeah, we worked together closely at Jade in sales marketing jobs, and had quite sort of complementary skills, so we could work on projects together, and that sort of then is carried on into the business, I suppose. So it works well as a partnership, having that approach. We can support customers on different aspects of what they need. And it just works well as a team.
Yeah, like a complementary. Are you different personalities when it comes to how you handle things, or do you pretty much run as a solid unit? Are you doing a mom and dad routine in there?
Yeah, we're pretty. I mean, I suppose we do have our different styles and stuff, but it's all about it's a really open way of managing the business. So we work closely together on that, and we have a pretty open approach with our team as well. So I think that sort of works well.
That's excellent. Yeah. Do you use any business methodology for running the agency? Apart from HubSpot, are you running anything else to help you with meetings, processes, things like that?
Yeah, we about 6 months ago, or slightly more, we started on the EOS Traction. Which has just been fantastic. So Owen had read about that, and we'd been to a couple of HubSpot events where agency owners had talked about it. So read the book and have just got into it. Just fantastic. It's been a great way of organising, the overall planning structure of the business, but also the weekly cadence of activity. So, I mean, we're still learning. We just went through our first sort of annual planning cycle last week, actually.
Yeah.
And it is really good. It's a good model. It's simple, quite simple, straightforward, but it does really force traction.
It does. Yeah. And it forces you to look at all the areas and pull it together. I know everyone that reads the book Traction, for me, the first time I read it, I was in tears, because I had my agency for 5 years before I had even hit reading the book, and I was so annoyed at myself. But now you found it. That's fantastic, and it does create some structure on areas that I think we kind of let go in an agency, and we shine a light into those corners and go, actually, no, that needs a number, or why are we doing that thing? Really good way of organized. So if anyone wants to just get the book Traction, I swear I was working commission for them the amount of times I read for them, but I'm not. But I do highly recommend the methodology. It's great to see that you learned about that as well. So to help you in your business. But one of the things that when I was asking you before around your own agency, you said you had a bit of an aha moment when you went inbound, the year you went for the first time, and understanding you were doing a lot of one-off consulting and projects, and then you made that shift to retainer. Can you tell me about that time? What year was it, by the way, you went to inbound?
It was probably the first 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
I'm trying to remember.
We first went. It may have even been long. No, probably 3 or 4 years ago. First time we went, 4 years ago, I'd say. And we were doing a lot of consulting type projects, so one-off type of thing. We were doing some regular servicing of customers as well. And as we got into more of this inbound marketing, there was more of that repeat business. But I think just going to inbound and seeing some of those bigger agencies and the way they operated, they had a really structured approach. They were, whether they had a point system or whatever it was, they were really focused on, managing their clients on a monthly basis to, really specific goals, and then delivering a whole bunch of outcomes for them, and being really, organized and intentional about it, and building that relationship over the time, all those kind of, really basic things, but it gave us the inspiration, I suppose, to change our business. I mean, whereas we went from we'd be doing consulting projects for big lumps for 2 or 3 months, and then then go out and finding the next one, and it was it's quite a different model to then you get the steady retainer type business. So
predictable business. So what percentage are you looking at right now? You've talked about your goals there, about where you want to get the business. So percentage wise, with the number of clients, roughly how many are you working with today total?
We on a monthly basis we're about 25,
right? Okay.
And about 70% on retainer type arrangement, 70 to 80 depending, and then 20 to 30 on more of a project basis. We were doing one-off projects or limited projects for people. So we've really changed our biz.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's also given us through EOS. We've decided to really give growth a go over the next 2 to 3 years in terms of adding those.
You want to double that, so double that number of clients, right? So what are the things you're going to do there then?
Sorry, I missed that, Clodagh. What was that?
So your plan is to double the business, to go 25 to 50. And you're looking at EOS. Tell us some of the strategies you're planning to take it to the double numbers.
To sell more. That's basically. No, I mean, because we've Owen and I have done the selling, as we've grown the business, and we've done consulting at the same time. But I suppose part of EOS is just being really focused on different parts of the business, and one of them is being really focused on our own lead generation, business development and sales process. So we're, putting a lot more effort and structure into that. And we're soon to recruit our first BDR, because we know we've built a good process over the last little while in terms of how we take people through that sales process. So we just we know if we invest the effort and time into it, it will produce us results.
That's good to hear that you're going to hire a BDR to do prospecting and warm up the calls, qualify.
Yeah, because I suppose you thought in the past, you always think, you needed somebody with, at a higher level that can do the selling and stuff, but we don't actually need somebody to do that. We need somebody to focus on our inbound leads, focus on our database, and bring those people up to Owen and I to start engaging on a sales basis. I mean, it's ironic in a way that and this is us in a way. We look at the inbound model and we were almost too pure about it.
Right.
We were sort of saying, because we were doing a lot of inbound ourselves and was bringing people in, but unless they popped up to us in an inbound way, we wouldn't reach out to them. And the reality is there's a whole lot of good leads there, people that you just need to have some outbound activity to convert them into that sales funnel.
100%. I preach that all the time. Inbound is fantastic, but it's not a purist religion. It does need the human interaction to pick up the phone. And people are super busy, Greg.
Yes.
They're so busy, and they have the intention of, I really must get to that person, but just because they haven't called you doesn't mean they don't want you to call them.
I know, it's amazing. We've because we've been more proactive about in the last 6 months, and the amount of time people you talk to and they go, I've been meaning to talk to you guys for the last 6 months or the last year, but I just it keeps on falling to the bottom of my list. But
exactly.
So there's a real opportunity there.
You're not selling something horrible. You're not trying to do them harm. You're doing them good. And sometimes they just need that, thank God you rang, or if they click on a download and you ring them within 5 minutes and they can go, I was just thinking about that download so thank you. I am in the frame mind of having that conversation. And one thing that I've just remembered as well, do you remember in the early days, you didn't have any inbound leads, but you had a list. You had a bit of a list of people.
Yeah.
One of the initiatives that, because we had talked about when people are starting off, and believe it or not, you know, there's still agencies just joining the inbound movement every single day. You know, you can imagine being 5 or 6 years ahead, what a benefit that is. But in the beginning, we did an initiative together when I was working with you around sending out a brochure. It was around the brochures are dead, sort of, you know, inbound marketing is the new way to go. I don't know if you remember this. And then the call to action was to book a cup of coffee with you.
Yeah, that was great, because we were early on in our HubSpot, we were sort of getting our head around it, and we were reading all the, you know, the information, and you sort of, you know, you sit there, you're not really sure when to go. And what you did, which was good, was basically said, just get on with it, fellas. Don't keep on analyzing, don't keep on structuring and preparing, just get on and do something. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. So we just did a simple content offer. We had this theme around burn your brochures, which is really about thinking through how you generate your leads and not necessarily doing your traditional approach.
Correct.
We only sent it out to a database. It was sort of 500 people campaign, and got, like, I think it was 30 or 40 leads, you know, straight away.
Yeah. And you had a good visual on it as well, where it was the visual of burning an actual brochure. So if we think of the traditional marketing that's out there, there's real estate industry, the car sales guys, there's still a lot of industries who are doing things the old way. So you gave them a visual. It was like physical picture of burning a brochure, which was really good to get it reminded people, oh, wow, that's confronting. And then the call to action was to book a cup of coffee with you. How did you handle all the coffee, Dave?
That's always a bit of a overflowed on that. But the reality is, we still like, through our lead conversion, we still talk about a cup of coffee, but half the time or probably 3/4 of the time it's on Zoom, because they're not in Christchurch. But it's just the sense of or particularly in New Zealand culture, coffee means you get together, have a chat, and it's just an exploratory discussion. It's like your classic. So a connect call, I suppose, but so they don't have to feel pressure to be obliged, but we get the chance to qualify them, and it all sort of works.
Yeah, and it's a softer way as well. It's like having a conversation, because you want to find out more about them, and you want them to find more out about you. So the coffee is, whether it's a virtual one or a physical one, it really doesn't matter. So that's really good. It was just a reminder going, God, in the beginning you didn't have loads of inbound leads, but now you're built up the business. There's enough leads coming in to have a BDR to call them out. It's great. That's a step. It's really, really good. I love that link between the fact that you knew where you were in the past, you're moving forward. What other kind of initiatives are you thinking about to help you grow the business?
Well, I suppose part of it is, so it's focusing on the sales end, and then at the other end, we're trying to be a lot more structured around the delivery, and make sure we have our sort of outputs and the way we price them, and that a lot more organized. So it's there's not too much. So it's really clear with the customers what we're delivering them, what they're getting for their money, and then what we're producing here, and trying to lock that, schedule of production down more, rather than just sort of, a bit more free form with the customers on a monthly basis. It's actually, let's plan out a couple of weeks, let's lock in what we're doing and get on with it. So we're only just starting on that road. It's not as easy as you'd hope, but
and explaining what happens when they need to do things for you is a really important part of the client relationship. To let them know that if they don't get the content to you by week 2, on week 4, you can produce a video or a content piece back to them. Having that planning together and building that partnership together, getting them to understand they're in this as well with you.
Yeah, and that's an important part of that whole retainer relationship, I think, is making sure that they understand that, we've got a bunch of customers. We have to plan out, we have to commit, a block of our time to meet their needs. We can't just sort of respond to you at the last moment around things. And that's really good, because it, builds respect both ways around, we're trying to help each other to get ahead. So,
explaining things to each other and helping that out, becoming a partnership. Which
Yeah.
is then back to having a human conversation. Technology, huge business for you guys down in New Zealand. One of the biggest things I remember you talking about, I've watched a lot of documentaries on it, it's the fact that your broadband, your Wi-Fi, you know, it's significantly high when it comes to standards, speed, you know, a really great initiative by the New Zealand government there to actually give you guys a bandwidth. Can you explain a little bit about that and how it's impacted I guess the quality of people? I'd say it must be recruitment and things like that. The fact that you've got a fast broadband, like what difference has that made?
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. I mean, it's sort of a necessity because we're, you know, at the bottom of the world. We're the closest country is Australia, which is 3 hours flight away.
Yeah.
You know, and it's 12 hours to the west coast of the States and all that kind of thing. So while we're all used to traveling, you know, the digital side of it's really important. And the technology industry in New Zealand is now the third largest. We're still traditionally, you know, an agricultural company. It's country. It's all about sheep and cows. But next is tourism and then technology. So I mean, I think sort of 3 governments ago realised they needed to invest in this. So they've invested a lot of money in infrastructure. And that's really helped the technology industry itself, because, you know, they can become global players. Like there's Xero, which is a small business accounting company, which is now, you know, dominant New Zealand, Australia, UK, and has a reasonable foothold in the States, all done from New Zealand. And just having that broadband means that they can hire developers working anywhere in the country, basically, who can operate it. Yeah, so you can operate it as if, you know, the person in the next room is the same as the person on the other side of the country. So that's really good. So there is a lot of, it just means, especially those SaaS businesses can really start from anywhere. And we see that down here in Christchurch. You know, there's a whole lot of activity happening. And then it means for us, we can service our customers really easily because there's, you know, everybody can use the Zooms and other tools, but we just have confidence in that. And the cost of doing business that way is really affordable. So
yeah, well, you can see on this call, this is crystal clear. Like you could be in the next room in comparison to some of the calls I've had with other countries. You can tell the degradation. It does make a huge difference. Has that improved then the quality of recruitment, which is a big Achilles heel for a growing agency, is to find good talent? Has that made it easier for you? Do you think more people are available in the technology business for you to hire?
Yeah, we're not having massive challenges hiring. I mean, although, you know, we do have a real multinational workforce, because, and I mean, that's part of New Zealand that, you know, brings in people looking for opportunities. So that's fantastic. You know, I think some of our customers, in particular tech specialties, do struggle. Because, you know, we've only got a small workforce and, you know, it is competitive for those top programming talent. So sometimes they do struggle.
Yeah, it's hard to get.
Yeah.
The devs are the new, like the salespeople were the heroes, you know, in the 90s, salespeople, and now it's the devs, isn't it? It's trying to get a dev,
yeah,
like go hen's teeth.
Yeah, but I think for us, you know, the kind of digital marketing we're doing is not, I mean, it's all based on tool sets and frameworks and things. It's not, we're not doing any real deep technology stuff. So, you know, we can use the HubSpot, you know, tools to deliver a whole lot of value for our customers, which is the real attraction of it, rather than having to be, you know, deep experts in programming. You know, we still got very clever technical people, but they don't necessarily have to be, you know, the pure programming type of talent.
Are you still hiring everyone in Christchurch, or have you hired people from other parts of New Zealand, or do you just subcontract anyone else or any other country, any remote?
Yeah, no, we're it's all done here at the moment. We have used a company in the Philippines from time to time, on specific projects, but yeah, we just, for our model, it works well to have it controlled here. We've used freelancers here and there in content and video content and that kind of thing. We use them from time to time in different parts of New Zealand and in Australia. But our core sort of team of people is based here, mainly in the office and some from home in the city as well. So that sort of works well for us, I think, most of the time.
Well, most of the time. I'll bring you on to something, just to talk about as well. One of the reasons that I created this podcast was to talk about agency life. It's not all flowers. Sometimes it's really difficult. Recently you had experienced a difficulty with an employee, and maybe you could share something about what you would do differently the next time, and what actually happened, so that other agency owners might be listening to this and go, oh geez, that sounds like me right now, and maybe we can help them avoid something. Well, I think when you do have problems with team in there in terms of servicing customers, and there's impacts and things, we've had a couple of that over the years, I suppose, situations to deal with. And what we've really learned is the need there's two things. One is having a really structured process for dealing with it. So it's because you have to deal with people in a fair way as well, and and have the process laid out and be very clear about feedback and all those kind of things. But also not to muck around about it. We've been guilty of. We're usually good at having a process and dealing with it in a structured way, but taking too long. I mean, New Zealand is different from the States. We can't just say, see you later, you're gone. Our laws are quite strict in that area. So as they are in Europe as well, and it's
that's right.
The only place that has it. But it is to know in your gut that there is something wrong. Maybe, is it give one chance, not give 5 chances? Is it things like that?
It's the old pull the band-aid off a bit quicker.
And one thing, if an agency out there is like having a system, not letting everyone run the accounts in a different way. It's going, this is what I expect you to do with the accounts. These are the things that have to be done. Has a monthly report gone out? Has it been received by the client? Putting some checks in place and giving KPIs so that they can be measured. And then on the other side, which again comes back to the EOS, if you have your core values and you use the people analyzer, and if the person is not demonstrating, honesty, timeliness, professionalism, whatever your core values are on a regular basis, that is a very good reason to pull the lever, isn't it? To go look.
And that process, that people analyze the process, was really good in recently, and that we could talk through those values, with the person, and you can really have a good discussion about it. That gives you a good structure for that, because they're values that are accepted by everybody in the business. We understand how they impact on things. Probably one of the other things we're possibly made a mistake with or guilty of is, with smaller customers, sometimes you, because everything's busy, you can leave those with people and not necessarily, monitor that well enough. It will have the right, like you were saying, the right standards and structures in place for all the customers. So, and then those smaller customers get impacted. So, that's certainly something we've learned and sort of adjusted the way we do things to be more, to have those more consistent approaches and standards to things.
Great. And I think if we were to just think of it on a very simple level for everyone, I came across this recently where it has happened a number of times where the agency owner presumes that the account manager is doing a monthly report. And sometimes some of them got missed. So even a checklist, even if you could print up a list and put it on the wall in the office, and everyone ticks when they did their monthly report, or that it was done, or a copy is sent to the owner, it doesn't have to be a complicated process. It can be you've got 25 clients. Are they getting a monthly update or a monthly report if they're in a retainer? It could be a checklist on the wall just to remind everyone, but that's all back into the processes and things. And one that's great advice. I really enjoy that. Another thing that we talk about is agency life, and I know, because I've worked with you guys long enough, you enjoy your holidays, you love your trips away. There's cycling, there's fishing, there's all sorts of things, and that is the New Zealand lifestyle. It's also the Australian lifestyle. I just, one of the things I admire about, especially since I've come back home, realized how little holidays I end up taking. But one of the things that you says has helped you in your day-to-day life is exercising. So you exercise every morning. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so that's just a habit that I'm into, I suppose. Like this morning I went for a swim, and before I came into work, and I just I usually do a run or a bike or something, and find that's a good way to start the day and get my brain into it. And because it is, it's a pretty mild climate here, and it's there's not too much traffic and all those kind of things. It's quite easy to get out and do a lot of that kind of thing. But we also try to extend that to the team here as well. Last month there was a thing run in the city which was like a sort of a ride to work or love to ride campaign, basically. So we've been trying to get everybody involved in a bit of cycling, either to work or at other times, because we live in a nice flat city. It's easy to sort of get around. So those kind of things are quite good, just to encourage health and take the stress out of things. Yeah,
that's a healthy agency should be a happy agency, and hopefully a profitable one as well. That's the plan. A lot of agency owners find it difficult to switch off. They go home, they're still talking about work. By some weird coincidence, I end up working with a lot of agency couples, and they're going to talking about work during the day, talking about it at night. I asked you this question about how you find the balance, and you seem to have a really good sort of theory on, like, I have balance. It's about setting the goal. So you go home, you don't feel like you want to talk about it, or do yourself and Owen just have it figured out how you talk about work and then you stop?
So we, I suppose my sort of rule is, during the week, there's the real focus on the business, and, that does extend into the evenings and doing things to keep things running at times. But weekends, particularly, I try to just keep those clear. And particularly with the family, spending time. I've got kids that are playing sport and all those kind of things. So I think you really need to have that change of scene and unplug. And just get away, because it's so easy with, everything's connected all the time. You can be blooming checking your emails and checking everything every 5 seconds, but things will carry on without you for Saturday and Sunday. So that's certainly the way I try to operate. And but during the week it's pretty full on, and we're often talking through things about the business throughout the day and into the evening at times. But I think as long as you have those breaks, and then, as you say, we have big long holidays. New Zealand is pretty quiet over the Christmas period, which is our summer break. So Owen and I both take our a good month off, and we have other holidays during the year. So it works well.
And was it you or was it Owen who took a big sabbatical? There's something coming into my head, remembering a big cycling trip or something.
I did a bit in 2014. I took 3 months off with my family and went to India and Southeast Asia and the States, and traveled around. It was brilliant. That's one of the benefits of having a business that 2 people own. We can sort of make that happen sometimes. Owen hasn't quite managed his one yet, but one of these days.
That's not your fault. You're waiting for it. Or do you keep him busy so that he can't?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just making sure he doesn't get a 3-month gap.
Yeah. Well, but it is easy to just get into a cycle of getting busier and busier and busier.
I know, right?
And then you don't stop that. It compounds. So.
And as agency owners, we kind of, you look at, I have a spare hour here, I'll do a little bit extra, because we don't give ourselves the permission. There's the guilt of, when, you know, I've sometimes experienced it myself, it's like guilty for, oh, I shouldn't be not working. I need to hustle this. I need to keep working. I need to do those hours and those weekends. But, you know, the studies coming out now of taking a break, of disconnecting, of taking your weekend, of taking that holiday. I mean, how refreshed did you come back after 3 months with your family? And the fact that you invested that in your family, that must have, you know, for all the late nights and the hard work you did before, you're giving that back to them to go, thanks for putting up with me. You know, how refreshed did you feel when you came back?
Well, it was a bit hard getting back to work, to tell the truth, after 3 months off. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly, it just separates you completely from the day to day. That's for sure. You get into a different rhythm of things. But I think it's you know, it's really important to, because your kids grow up so quick. It's investing in those experiences.
I know.
During that time, because you know, before you know it, they're all gone, and you know, you miss that opportunity. So having a bit of that is really important.
Really good advice. I think more and more now, if we can sort of give ourselves the permission, it is almost, isn't it? Give yourself the permission to start taking that hour in the evening to yourself, take the weekends to yourself, and build up to it, and find a gap. And if you don't have a business partner, you know, you've got a manager in the office who can step up, like plan it 6 months out, and give yourself permission. That's what I would say to agency owners. And when it comes to advice as well, Greg, can you believe, like, today HubSpot is in there, there's Marketo's in there, Salesforce, Pardot, everyone's out there selling their software to an agency, and an agency is about to make a pivot into this, you know, digital world or inbound world, or about to take things on. What advice would you give them? You gave me some tips there let's talk about them for a new agency starting out on their, you know, digital or inbound or whatever they want to call it journey today.
I mean, our advice will always be about focus. You know, I mean, that's what's benefited us, but it's just having some sort of focus around, you know, a market, so you can really build up knowledge in that area, reputation in that area, you know, so you can lower your cost of selling, you can lower your cost of servicing. That's what really works. And then if you have got a focus on an industry, then, or a market or a geography, then that sort of comes back to your technology choices as well. So HubSpot for us was a good fit, because a lot of our, you know, it was a software as a service, you know, tool. It was, you know, a bit more modern than the Marketos and things. So it really fitted well with our type of customers. You know, and so it was a logical choice. Whereas if you were in some different sectors, different types of customers, some other tools might fit better. So yeah, momentum's all about having that focus and trying to you know, get away from doing certain things, I suppose, and focusing on what's most important. And what that's part of the EOS experience for us too, has been while we have a market focus, and that's been really good to us, actually in the business, focusing on what's most important is really key as well. Because you can, you know, when you're talking about being busy and there's always things to do, there is, but sometimes you can be inefficient with that time, and you know, spend lots of time on stuff that's not really that important, and you know, some of it you can just let go.
Amazing.
The EOS process with the rocks and everything, it just says, right, we've committed, this is what is most important to get us achieving those goals in this period, so let's put our energy into that, and the other stuff will be still there.
And we've agreed this is what we're focusing on, and we're going to do that. Well, this has been fantastic. I'm at the end of my day here, and you're about to start yours. Thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here in Agency Live.
Great, thank you. Great to be involved, and thanks for producing this resource, because I think it's fantastic for people to get that advice. That we got benefited from a bit of it early on. We got some direct advice from you, but being able to listen to other people's stories is actually really valuable too. So thank you.
Fantastic. I'm delighted. Well, hopefully we can help a few agency owners out there, help them get on their journey. So it's great. Thanks a million, Greg. I'll see you very soon.